Welcome back, Alpha Hunters. The markets are closed for the week of September the 29th, the last week of September. We are now moving on to spooky October. So let's go ahead and wrap up what's going on this week, and we'll talk about maybe some forecast stuff. So we did end last week kind of bearish. We did have a little bit of a gap down to start Monday, and you traded higher on Monday. Initially bounced, and then we pulled back for about an hour. Then we had a nice little midday rip, and we just went sideways for a few hours. Nice bullish activity right there at the end of the day. Ended pretty good. You were kind of thinking, okay, coming out of a weekend, a lot of selling last week. Maybe the buyers are going to step in and support the market, and here we go. The dip buyers are going to come in. Well, Tuesday put that to rest pretty quick, right? Gap down, got bought up first 15, then the next 30 minutes just sell city, and then we just kind of kept falling throughout the day on Tuesday. Wednesday, nice little gap up, and then we just wound up falling again. And around this time, I started wondering, like, are we really going to go through 430 and 420 the same week? I really kind of started wondering that, and because we were just sell mode, and that's kind of what happens, right? Once you get through support levels, I get to these bigger pockets, and you can move through some different price levels relatively pretty quick. And well, that was basically about it. We started rallying on the market and ended off the lows on Wednesday. Pretty good little lower wick there on Wednesday. Thursday, not really a gap, really all that much. A little bit of a gap down, but nothing crazy. Nice buy up action first half of the day, and then a nice little pullback and kind of flattened out right there at the end of the day. We tried to rally right there at the end of the day, but we dropped in the last 30 minutes. Kind of didn't really reverse down, but definitely off the highs of the day on Thursday. Friday, nice gap up. You're really hoping, if you're bullish, that you want to see us get back up over 430. Well, we gapped up over 430. It was looking pretty good. You wanted to see us continue higher. That way the second half of the week was nothing but dip buying. People getting bullish again after we broke down the first half of the week. Well, we didn't. We just straight sold off first several hours of the day. Really the last hour and a half, we had a nice little pop there, but then we kind of backed down, and we're still kind of weak there in that last hour. So we were off the session lows, but wasn't good. And this is the first time we've actually closed the weekly under 430 in quite some time. All right, taking a look here at sector rotation for the week. You can see energy is actually a pretty good outperformer. They were doing really good basically every day this week for Friday, except for Friday. Friday, they were definitely the biggest lagger on Friday, but they did really good all the previous days when the market was really getting hit. So materials, also an outperformer for the week. Discretionaries, communications, tech outperformers for the week. So was industrials. A little bit of an underperformer, kind of in line with the market, was healthcare. Underperformers, real estate, financials, staples, utilities. Yeah, utilities just getting hit basically every day this week. Go check out their daily chart. XLU, woo, man, they had some breakdowns this week. Federal Reserve balance sheet data dropped again 2 weeks in a row. Last week it dropped pretty good by about 3%. This week it dropped by about 1.9%. So yeah, okay. Fed's finally doing what they said they were going to be doing the past several months and shrinking the balance sheet, but it hasn't really changed all that much. You can really say it's been more flat here over the past couple of months than anything else. We'll see what happens and what they continue to do going forward. The VIX, well, the VIX definitely pushed higher, finally took out this high from August 18th. The SPY is well below that, that low from August 18th. So yeah, the VIX kind of took out that high early part of this week, and kind of nice little pullback. Still bounced pretty good there on Friday, closing over the 17 level again. 2 weeks in a row it's done that. It hasn't done that since going back before June. 2 weekly closures over 17. US dollar continues its steamroll higher, and very nice pullback there on Thursday and Friday. Nice little lower wick. I'm gonna zoom out here. You can see it came in right into that 10 EMA, but you can also see it took out this high from back in March, beginning of March. And yeah, you can see we took that out. We popped over that. I really was kind of curious if we were going to consolidate under it and then break it, but we just broke up over it. We retested into that high on Friday. And yeah, that looks pretty good to probably continue to push higher. And that's not going to be good for equities. It's also not good for GLD. GLD got absolutely annihilated this week. And if you want to see something that got really annihilated on Friday, go check out silver SLV. Thing got obliterated. had a gap up, but still the intraday on silver was, man, that was brutal. Yeah, I think gold's just probably going to be coming down. I think this was the area down here in the lower 160s. I was really digging it. I was really wanting to come down to back in this time period, back in kind of Q1 time period. But then we got, the regional banking issue and gold safe haven took off. So if we wind up getting back down here, 162 and lower, I would actually really like to see that if we do wind up getting down to that level. So I'll keep my eye on it. But for now, I mean, gold just have a massive breakdown this week. 10-year yield. Woo, man. This one, like the dollar, continues to push higher. I've been talking about this one for a few weeks, if not a few months. And, we've very clearly broken that last October high 2 weeks ago. And very nice little pullback there Thursday and Friday. You can see the 10 EMA sitting there. I put this gray line because it seems to be like a little bit of a trend line that the 10-year yield's kind of been riding in for really going back to the beginning part of May. You can see it's kind of just like a median kind of line there. So I just kind of wanted to leave that line. Anyways, we finally get some people noticing the 10-year yield could be a problem. Our boy Jim Cramer out here, the tyranny of the 10-year yield is relentless. There could be no rally as long as this keeps up. So there you go. Even Jim Cramer says yields are not good. And honestly, I don't have a really good reason why they should stop now. So I think they'll probably just continue to go higher, and that's going to put pressure on the stock market. So that's just kind of where I'm at with that. I think it was a nice pullback that we got right here at the end of the week, and that was also a pretty good retest that we got on the stock market after the breakdown. So we'll talk a little bit more about the stock market side. The 10 and 2 inversion absolutely exploded this week, and it's probably just on its way to the zero line, or at least the positive territory, its natural state. As it just kind of over the summer came down, took out the low barely by like just on one day and one little wick there on July 3rd, and then it's been climbing kind of ever since. And this week, it really took off there, and I would imagine it's probably just going to continue to go. But once this thing really starts to accelerate to the upside, that is when you can start to see the stock market really start to see some sell-offs. We'll see. Just know that this thing is starting to move in that direction, and it's starting to gain some steam. All right, taking a look here at week-over-week options change, and quite a bit of puts and calls actually being purchased for this next Friday. Pretty good amount of puts being bought 2 weeks out. Some puts selling out here 3 weeks out, week of October 20th there. And then a pretty good amount of puts actually being bought out there for November 17th and December 15th. We're starting to get some new options expirations coming in after the new year, so I'll continue to add those as they continue to add those on the website. Equal weight S&P 500 definitely had a nasty breakdown last week. This week wasn't as bad, but still, it's just with how bad last week was and the beginning part of this week, basically all the RSP kind of did was just retest into the moving averages that are coming down. You can see that 10 EMA kind of hitting that connection right there. And a lot of the major averages, even the DIA, kind of look like that. They had massive breakdowns last week, continued lower the beginning part of this week, and then they just kind of retested on Friday into the moving averages. So not really looking too indifferent on a lot of these kind of indices. Even the IWM here, breakdown, even into early part of this week, retest into the moving averages. And also this kind of support and resistance layer right here around the 179 level. So, yep, starting to see some of those spots that now should have been support or now resistance. And really one of the things that looks very interesting here, I was just kind of eyeballing this. So we got a nice little head and shoulders action here on the IWM with this breakdown. So makes sense that, about right there in that zone where we had the rejection there on Friday. You can maybe even say a little bit higher, but makes sense that we're probably starting to get to a little bit of a resistance level now that we got through there this time. Qs also broke down last week, definitely had a breakdown this week, got below this October 18th low this week. Most of the other major indices I track here broke down that low on last week. So the Q's actually been holding up pretty good ever since this low on August 18th. The Qs have actually been doing pretty good. They had a nice little rally there, and they haven't been getting sold down as much. I don't really know how much I would really trust Tech SPY. It's probably getting a lot more support right now from the Tech side, just because they're not getting sold off as much. We were just looking at the Qs. But nice retest. Again, Friday morning, into the 10 EMA coming down. Well, we just looked at yields. It had a nice little retest into the moving average. DXY, the dollar, had a nice little retest into its moving average and a previous support and resistance zone. So yeah, I mean, it's also got this little bit of a low back here from June 26th that it kind of came into. So yeah, there's a lot of things now that we broke down last week and early parts of this week that things are not setting up well. And the two things I'm gonna tell you to watch, I've been telling you to watch these for the past several weeks. Dollar yields, 10-year yield, watch that. Because if they both keep going higher, it's not going to be good for the stock market. So if we come out on Monday and yields are just starting to climb again, they continue to push higher, I mean, just expect that this is probably going to happen. And my expectations is if we get below this low that we put in this past Wednesday, September 27th, we're probably just going to go right through 420. That's just my expectation. I don't know when that would happen, and I totally understand if you were out here buying the dip this week, that was probably a pretty good move, especially when Wednesday's candle came in, a nice little lower wick. But if we start to go sideways here, start to just chop sideways, I would absolutely just not be bullish. I think that would just be eventual breakdown, and I think that would be enough of a buildup of power to break through this 420, 4,200 on the SPX kind of level that I think will just break down, and everybody would see that. That would be getting through the 200 moving average also, that it would probably just flip the market in a very big way. That is what I would be watching, and everybody have a great weekend. All right, outfunders, take care.